Alrighty then, hello! G'day guys, how we doing? Hope you guys are feeling well. My name's Mike, I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer, and I'm back, that's right, we're streaming, we're doing stuff, we're hanging out. It's so good to see you. Oh my god, hello, welcome, Anthony, let me say this right. Anthonium. Yes, there we go. I have said it with my mouth words that I can formulate as a human being who has only ever spoken English since I was a kid. So, you know, there you go. Miss B, thank you so much for the bits. So good to see you. Hester, macrobiologist. Nice to see you guys. How's my face? Face is sore. Face is sore. Yes, it is. It is of the ouchies. But getting better. Feeling much better. At least well enough for me to do things, you know, with, but yeah. No, it was a bit of a struggle, but I kind of got there in the end. But yeah. So today we're just going to be hanging out, chilling out, talking about, I'm going to be reading this game. I'm going to be reading through all of this stuff. And, yeah, just talking about, stuff that happened while we were in Melbourne, hanging out for PAX, some of the cool adventures that we went on. That kind of stuff, you know, because it was such a wild ride, and you know, I kind of had to come home and get some stuff work done on my teeth, so I haven't really had a chance to sit down and talk about it. So today is like super chill day. We ask questions, we do stuff, we read through rules, you know, all that sort of stuff. Now, let's start with where are we at? Where is DAG at? Aha. Okay, cool. So, let's start with the beginning. First of all, PAX. PAX was amazing. It was so much fun. It was... Am I wearing the same shirt? Yeah, well, it's not the same shirt, but it is a shirt that I was wearing in PAX. Yeah, no, PAX was great. There was a lot of post-PAX stuff that kind of went down. You know, I kind of had a little bit of like the post-con blues, that kind of thing, which was rough. But you know, I learned so much from my experience, and I met so many amazing people, so many talented content creators, and I cannot sing and shout their praises enough. Well, you know what? Like I said, we'll do some reading. We'll go through exactly like the step by step. But yeah, no, it was an experience because it was my first PAX ever, and you know, it was one of those things where I found myself just sort of swept up by all the hype. You know, I went from like panel to panel to panel to panel. I was supposed to meet a few people, which I didn't end up meeting. But then again, I was supposed to go to panels I didn't go to, and then bumped into people I wasn't supposed to bump into. So it was a whole wild ride, and I'm really glad that we ended up booking a couple of days before and afterwards, just to kind of decompress, relax, do all of that sort of stuff, and yeah, get to really enjoy Melbourne and each other's company a lot longer than, you know, we would have if we were just there for the con. So it was a wonderful experience. Like the flower, Athenaeum. Oh, okay, there you go. That's it. Chrysanthemum. The chrysanthemum. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. DAG, you're wearing the same shirt. Yep. How was PAX? Mine was crazy fun. Presenting on a panel and catching up with all my cosplaying and TTRPG family. That's so good. That's exactly how I felt. Except for me, it was like I was meeting a lot of people for the very first time, which was wild. You know, I was going to talk about this a little later on, but I was very awkward when I was at PAX. I kind of felt a little bit guilty because I don't really interact with too many people in Perth. Like, you know, like I feel like I spend most of my time interacting with you guys and online, and I didn't realize exactly how absolutely stuffed my abilities to socialize were. And I said such awkward things to people. I know that I made a few people feel very awkward, and if you are watching, if any of you are there, who I haven't called up and apologized profusely, you know, I know that, you know, I really am sorry if I made you feel weird. I kind of overcompensated a lot to try and overcome the mass amount of nerves You know, that's kind of that. Yeah, that was very much a heavy vibe on that. It was just like, yeah, no, I'm so sorry. I just want to make friends. I want to leave good impressions. And you know, I think I left some good impressions and some questionable ones. So, c'est la vie, as it were. C'est la vie. All I can hope is that the next time I will be less awkward and awkward conversation. Welcome to my life. Yes, thank you. No, it was no, just lots of stuff. Lots of stuff that I think was a really good learning point in my life, to be able to be like, hey, you know, if you're gonna go meet people in the space, both personally and professionally, you gotta kind of know how to walk the walk and talk the talk. And you know, being online and then going to real people space, a lot of those rules that you set yourself are not applicable, right? Just remember this, DAG advice. They're not applicable. You know, the way you talk to someone online, definitely not necessarily the way that you should talk to them in person. But yeah, Miss Bowman, I was so nervous going to PAX that my gut rebelled against me and made it hard to hang out with people. I regret not spending more time with everyone there. Yeah, no, I understand that. I think I forced my anxieties to like, you know, like, oh my God, there are so many people. I think I kind of forced it, which is what led to a lot of awkward situations. So you know, I don't regret it. You know, it definitely taught me a lot. But I can definitely hear from the experience you're speaking, Miss B. You know, there are definitely people I wish I had better interactions with, much better interactions with. And there are some people who I wish I had worse interactions with, like Rob, for example. Like me, just, my God, that guy just wouldn't shut up. No, no, it was good. But I guess I'll talk about. Let's start with the beginning. Again, I was going to talk about the beginning, and then we'll do some reading, and then we'll talk some more. Let's talk about the thing that I know that most of you guys want to know, which is, you know, like, what was that experience meeting Rob and Dread for the very, very first time? Now, for those of you who don't know, I'm part of a stream team with Robert Hartley GM and the Dreaded GM. These two are probably my closest and most talented friends who I enjoy spending much of my time in the online space working with and being a part of as a stream team. Meeting them for the first time was I mean, an experience is not even the right word. It's like, it felt like, even though I was miles away from where I lived, it felt like I was home. It felt like I was with, you know, I was with the people I care about the most, and that for me was just it. You know, like, that was what I felt. I felt what I felt like I was missing from my life for the longest time, without even realizing it. You know, that was kind of it. So I arrived first at in Melbourne, and Rob was supposed to have arrived earlier on that day, but he had just a ton of really rotten luck when it came to his travels. He there's a problem with the booking and stuff like that, and he ended up getting in much later, 12 hours later to be exact. But I think 16 hours or something like that. He was in way too early. And so I was the first one there. I was by myself initially with, well, I say by myself. I was there with AJ. So me and AJ traveled together, and just kind of didn't really do anything. We just kind of headed to the what do you call it, hotel that we were staying at, and hung out for a little while. When Dredd and Atlanta, who is another friend of ours, came in, it was like getting on Sunset, and I remember that AJ came down and offered to, like, you know, film the whole experience, which AJ, by the way, was an absolute pleasure to, you know, like, sort of be a part of the group and to travel with us. You know, she's a really good friend of mine from Perth. In case you haven't checked it out, Winter's Tales is her channel. She runs a really amazing game on Tuesday nights and does some awesome world building streams. So she was there and very graciously offered to, like, record, like, the us meeting each other for the first time. Now, I knew how big a person Dredd was. Like, you know, like, we've spoken before, we've talked about, like, how tall we are and all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't a surprise. What was a surprise was in the middle of the dark while, you know, like, I got the message, hey, we're on our way, you know, stepping outside. I saw Lanta first up in the distance, and then suddenly heard this freaking mountainous roar of someone just yelling, "DAG!" And then he charges at me, right? Like, freaking full-blown charges at me, he does. And gives me, like, the biggest hug. But it was really funny because it was like those animes, you know, where it's like he keeps coming at me and he keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It was amazing. And Lanta's here. Hi, Lanta. I miss you too. I'm actually just sharing the story of the first time I met you and Dread, actually. And so yeah, so Dread comes in. He like is on top of me, and we just hold each other for so long. Like we were just embracing for the very, very first time, and he just kept touching my face, saying, "You're real, you're here." And I kind of like was like, "Yeah, I am real, and you're here, and you are exactly the amount of extra I thought you would be." You know, I felt like, yeah, I don't emote very well around people. That's just not my bag. It's something I don't do very often. But yeah, there were some very, very strong emotions there. And you know, it was just, yeah, it was crazy. It was so cute. It was so adorable. And Lanta was there, beaming, big smile on her face. And unfortunately, she couldn't stay with us for too long because she had other places to go. But it was also like the first time I'd met Lanta, so it was also super nice to see her and to get, you know, because she went out and she really went out of her way to help us out throughout the whole con, like here and there. Like the word unsung hero doesn't get thrown around often, but definitely Lanta was my unsung hero throughout that, you know, like helping out Dread and bringing him safely to the hotel and stuff like that, catching up a couple of times, like. You know, and helping me put my head on like correctly. No, Lanta was my MVP for the trip in a lot of ways. But yeah, no, it was good because that was our first meeting for the very, very first time. So I knew that Lanta understood, which I was very grateful for, because, you know, like it's a big thing, you know, like meeting what is effectively another part of yourself. You know, and the love that you have for this person, it's kind of like you don't want to like, I guess you don't want to be neglectful. And I'm so anxious about like, oh, have I given everyone attention? Have I done all this? Have I done all that? Have I, you know, and my brain started sparing. But it was so nice that that Lanta was able to do that, and then I also got to meet her, and then it was cool. It was awesome. But that was meeting Dread for the first time, and then we brought him up to the hotel, which was a massive penthouse that we'd arranged, and I think he spent the first like 20-30 minutes just running up and down just because of how big it was. Did my feet lift the ground? The hug? No, he came down on top of me, like just. Yeah, no, there was no lifting. Though at some point or another, I did give Dread a hug and lifted him off the ground. Like that was something I had to do. And he was like, "Are you sure? I'm quite a big boy." And I said, "No, take this." And then regretted because I missed my fit body. I used to have one, but now I don't. There you go. I'm working on it though. That was one of my resolutions for coming back into Perth, was to improve both my physical and my mental health. And I've been eating well. I've already lost a lot of weight, and I'm starting to define myself. So yeah, lots of really cool post-pack positiveness coming from DAG. Laura Bones, thank you so much for the gifted subs. Who do we welcome? Mythical Turian, Scorch Queen. Hey, Scorch Queen. Dribs, Witchy Mama, and Loon Belandis. Loon Belandis. That sounds like a cool D&D name. I want that to be my D&D name. If I make a character, by the way, if Loon is in chat, let me know if I can use that for a D&D character, because I would love that. What's a fit body? I do not understand these words. Let me put it this way. A fit body for me is the body you feel most at home in. And when I was a lot younger, I used to do a lot of martial arts. I used to do a lot of exercise and stuff like that. And for the longest time, I feel like I'm in the middle of myself. And it sounds very weird, but it's like when I move, it feels like I'm moving someone. Like the real me is moving someone else. You know, that's kind of weird. But yeah, that's what I wanted to kind of get rid of. I wanted to get rid of this sense and like be the real me, like cut the real me out of this, which is, you know, kind of a cool thing. So I've started picking up my martial arts stuff again. I've started doing my stamina and fitness training. Forgot I had asthma, so First day was fun because I pushed myself a little too hard, but, we won't talk about that. But yeah, no. It was very, very cool. What else did we do that first night? So me and Dredd, I think we hung out. We just chatted about a bunch of ton of stuff. He showed me tons of pictures of Link and M, his family. The poor boy, he loves his family so very, very much. And if Link, M, or Mima are ever in chat, guys, I cannot stress enough how much that dude loves you guys. How do I forget I have asthma? Because I don't use an inhaler anymore. I used it when I was a kid. But then when I started martial arts, I didn't need it anymore. Like, I just kind of grew, I wouldn't say I grew out of it, but, I built strong lungs and I built strong organs and things, and I didn't need it anymore. And then, because I let myself get out of shape, it's something I forgot I had. So, yeah, I had to deal with that. But yeah, no, Dredd has such love for his family, and I cannot stress that enough. You could feel it just emanating from him, just how much he loves Link, how much he loves M, and how much he loves his Mima. It's glorious. It's everything you'd expect from an interaction with Dredd. So yeah, it was so good, so good. All right, so we started with our PAX intro. We kind of talked a little bit about PAX. Let's talk about learning some stuff. So like I said, this is a very casual stream. This isn't a promo stream. I'm not being sponsored to talk about anything. I'm just talking about this because this is something that I came up, that I found while we were at PAX. It is a game that I got to play called The Forge of Providence. Now this is a world building game, right? It's about, you take on the role of a god basically, and you take turns in tandem with other gods, building and constructing this world. You can see over here just a bunch of these artworks and stuff like that. So all the gods have kind of purviews, right? So this is the symbol of the god of protection. And then within the god of protection's domains, you'd pick something you might choose community, or you might choose, whatever, something. The god of creation, you might pick plant life, and you can create plant life, that kind of stuff. And then using your powers, your blessings, and the like, you then create and construct this world. At least that's kind of the gist of it. I'm going to be going through this book, and we're going to be going through chapter to chapter, taking breaks just to kind of talk about the pack stuff. Just kind of getting to know the system, learning stuff, adapting it. So that's it. If you have any questions, please ask. Whether it's about packs or whether it's about the game, we'll address them as we go. One thing I will say about this particular game, though, is it is a work in progress, so it is not it's not done. They're still taking feedback, they're still taking playtests and all that sort of stuff. So everything I say, I'm gonna also be kind of making notes and stuff like that as we go. Cool. All right. Copyright Dylan Ford. This text is a work under the license of Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Shared Alike 4.0 International License. You are free to modify these rules, but only ask that you would let them know along the way. And then all of the details which I've put in the chat there. If you want to reach out to the creator, you may do so. There's also a Discord, but I couldn't figure out a way to get the Discord link in there properly. But there's places where they're discussing this game. All right. The basics. Welcome to the dawn of time. You have a blank map. You are a god, and not the only one. Together you will forge mountains, races, civilizations, and more. You will influence your creations to carry out your will. Wars will be fought. Mountains will be shattered, and legends will be etched into the stone of time. Or so is the point of the game. This book teaches you how to get there. Forge of Providence is a GM-less and collaborative role-playing game about playing the gods of a fantasy world. You can run it on its own, or you can use it to collaboratively create a setting for a traditional fantasy game with your group. Preparing for a game. If you're organizing your first session, then you'll need 3 things: knowledge of the basic rules, people to play with, and a quick conversation with them to prepare, and materials. Though it doesn't say what the materials are. So there you go. First, read the basics, world genesis, and player turns. It's helpful, so also read Creations chapter, whatever page coming later, as you'll likely get questions from it. Skim the first page of each mythological archetype in case people need help picking. There's plenty more that are useful, but don't worry if you don't get them in time. The best practices in our following chapter is good for setting goals and make the game sing. And then read Legends and Conflicts if you want more context on why creation stats matter. But they shouldn't come up in the first session. Don't worry about errors until at least your second session. Next, you'll need a group of people to play with. Including you, Forge of Providence works best with 3 or 4 people. If you pick a group that is eager to collaborate on ideas outside of their turns, as many as 6 is good. If you want to play by yourself and create a world, I have some pointers for that in Best Practices. Either before getting together or right before a session, it is useful to talk about the themes and subjects which interest the table and flag things that are best avoided. The Forge of Providence steps right into huge areas like religion, history, and war, and are more which are rife with things that people may be wary getting into. So basically, this is your like mental health check thing. This is where are your lines, where are your boundaries, setting those things up. One easy way to do this is to message people and ask them which subjects they might want to avoid or include. This gives them time to think about it and also allows you to announce it to the table anonymously. There are other tried and tested safety tools that are designed for the use in role-playing games, and I recommend Lines and Veils or the X card by John Stavropoulos as a starting point. Okay, lastly, you'll need some materials. Now that it's listing the materials. 1 decently sized piece of paper, ideally A3 or larger. Plenty of pencils and erasers. Extra colors are optional. 6-sided dice, ideally 3 per person, altogether a bit more than a dozen. Printed handouts, and God sheets. Snacks and drinks, and anything else you need to entertain your friends as well. If you're playing online, there are many alternatives that work. We can probably skip that bit. Blah, 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 blah. Facilitating creation. Everyone will play as a god of as much power and relevance as they wish. Nobody has more authority over the others as to what happens in this world. You all have a responsibility first and foremost to make a fun and engaging world for everyone at the table. Realistically, though, there's usually one player who is hosting the game. The facilitator is the one who is likely taking the lead on teaching the rules and might be responsible for everyone wrapping up on time. They probably suggested the game, and maybe they're providing the space and furniture you'll be playing on. In fact, I'm probably talking to that player right now. Most of my advice for you is in Best Practices, but one thing I want to make clear is that you are not an arbiter. If you find people are coming to you about decisions on how the world works, turn it right back to them. Everyone co-authors this world together. So that's actually one of the things that really drew me to this. So I played this game with there we go. I played this game with Ellen and Paul from Quest Fantastic. Ellen from Roll to Cast, and also one of my members of my Spelljammer game. Let me see if I can find the photo here. There we go. Look at that. Let's see. No. Did I? I'm sure I had it somewhere. I've really got to learn how to navigate all of my stuff, because I know I took photos, and yet I don't know how to find a bunch of them. Here you go. Quest Fantastic, wonderful people, wonderful podcast. And do I have a photo? Come on, Michael. I believe in you. Maybe I believe in me. Maybe I don't. Maybe I shouldn't. What are you doing? Come on. Grr. Yeah, there it is. Haha. Found it. Boom. There it is. Look at that. It's an amazing group of people. Yeah. So that was us playing the Forge of Providence at PAX. And I think that was Steve. I think that was his name. It was... Yeah, I think that was Steve, maybe. But yes, so that was us playing at PAX. And it was really cool because, obviously, Ellen and Paul were both incredibly talented individuals, and they and having like creative people actually building and constructing that world together was what made it amazing, because we were just feeding off each other's energies, and it was creating something unique through teamwork, as opposed to like, oh, I'm just going to create this thing on my own and you're going to create this thing on your own. And we made something we made something really, really fun. I think I focused on just trolling everyone. We ended up with just like these spider-like creatures that were like called the Mentos. And they it was basically like a what's that movie called? Starship Troopers. Yeah. It's a very Starship Troopers type thing. So yeah. Okay, the broad strokes. Each world will have some setup where people create their gods and conduct special events to kickstart some ideas. You'll also draw a coastline of the major landmasses. Then the game happens in turns. On your turn, you start a major event. The other gods get a chance to react to that event. Very frequently, you'll be forging creations by defining their types and tiers, and giving them a handful of traits which resemble their most notable qualities. These creations can later take place in the legends, and use these statistics in a conflict to determine how the legend goes and shape the history of your world. Me? Trolling? Have never. Yeah, no, I'm not the troll of the group. What? Yeah, no, I created a virus, which was basically just the Mentos ad. It was incurable, and only ever lasted for like 6 seconds, enough to like play the Mentos ad. The one that's like Mentos freshness, Mentos. Yeah, it's basically that, just as a wave of like this disease, like just randomly you couldn't concentrate on something as it was just and it got into your head and you're like, yeah, and then it disappeared. So yeah, that's it. Over multiple sessions, you play out an arc in your story in the world called an era. Things gradually build up to push the era towards the conclusion that they want to see. At the end, it culminates in an epic era event that determines how the world changes. In classic role-playing game terms, an era is similar to an adventure or scenario that it ties things together in a theme. You probably won't start your first era in the first session. Okay. You can keep building on the world as long as you like. At certain points, you may find the world fleshed out enough to feel satisfying and feel like encapsulating it at that point in time. You could even use the world for a setting of another role-playing game you'd like to play if that interests you, and then check out transitioning to other systems. So yeah, this is another thing that I was interested in. So I want to kind of do this with Rob and Dredd and see what we can build for a world. And then if it's good, we can make it turn into like a one-shot or a series of one-shots. See how we go. What is it like to play? What I've just described is how to play, but what is it actually like? Forge of Providence is a highly collaborative creative experience. Everyone gets to leave their mark on the world and push pieces around as a god would. It's like playing in an ancient mythological epic with bitter, foolish, and narrow-minded gods who have too much power. Their whims and rivalries decide far more than the dice, which may only appear once every session. It is a game with a turn order, but you don't have to wait for your turn. It rewards you for learning more about what someone else is doing. It invites you to challenge someone else's champions or tamper with their plans. When you aren't sure what to do, then all you need is to ask, and someone is bound to give you something that you can then run away with. It is not balanced. Demigods walk the earth and they're not peaceful. The people seem doomed, but with a little luck and favor from the gods, they can too change the world. As you play, you end up with a map and a stack of cards representing all of the most interesting things on it. Each world will fundamentally be different on an elemental level. One world may feature a mage who wields water magic gifted to them by the gods. In another, water is an antithesis to magic itself. A whim you might have on the first session may become a key detail that makes the world interesting to explore. Or at least that's the idea. The only way to find out, the only way to know for sure is to find out. So there you go. Oh yeah, super excited to see what happens with all that corruption. Yeah. No, absolutely. It could be a whole bunch of corruption. Historical and theological disclaimer. Yada yada yada. This game is myth and fantasy. It is not about theology. It's about mythology. Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. I want to know what will happen with the goblin. Will they headbutt Rain again? With the goblin. Goblin. Who headbutt Rain? Man, it has been a while. Rise of the Rune Lords is a it has gone onto the hiatus bench for the time being. Jared and Dawn are new parents. I wouldn't say new parents, but like, you know, they have a new little one who has joined their families and stuff. So we're giving them all the time they need before they're comfortable coming back, and then we'll see where we're at. But yeah. We were talking about my campaign deck. Oh, right. Right. I see. How is your campaign going? I did see that message earlier on that you said that you had begun it. Let me know. How are things going? How is that traveling? I'm very interested to hear what your story is for the current iteration of the characters you have. I play in a survival D&D game on a macrobiologist channel. I played a Baxi sorcerer who has a really bad time. Fair enough. Is it a black cat tabaxi? That's my question. Is it a black cat tabaxi? I'm going to get a quick drink of water. I'll return momentarily. Hold that thought. Alright. I've returned. A silver and white, silver tabaxi. Fair enough. Fair. Okay. Let me pull this up here. Alright, there we go. So much fun. I love having an idea in mind, then watching players do it. Often it results in shenanigans. Also, the players are really scared of doors. Yeah, okay, fair. That seems like a very critical role thing. Okay. So, forging creations. As gods, you'll be manifesting your will in the beginning of time by creating races, demigods, and even civilizations. The most important of these is known formally as creations. Noted on the small reference card found at the back of this book, when you add creations through a ritual known as forging a creation, and it is the most common action you take as a god. Here is what it is loosely. Introduce the creation and describe how it is formed. Choose a type, the broader the category it fits under. Choose a tier, how influential is this in the world? Add traits, small notes about it and its important features, and optionally bind it to an aspect, a fundamental element of nature. This is a creative process first and foremost. It is not balanced in any way to ensure that no player ends up dominating the world with an overpowered creation. In fact, some gods are explicitly encouraged to do so. Adding creations to the world should make it more interesting or fun. Everyone has a responsibility to uphold this. Sometimes that means you need to rein something back in, but other times it means you get to go even further with it. If you'd like to know more, take a look at the best practices on chapter yada yada yada. This is the breakdown of each step of forging a creation in detail. More information on these notes are added to creations and can be found in the creations chapter. Step 1. Introduce the creation and describe how it is formed. A creation rarely starts at writing down the nitty-gritty detail on the card. It often starts with simply describing the idea in your head to the other players. You might have something quite concrete already, or you might have no idea at all. Leverage the mind of your fellow players, and if you're unsure, roll for inspiration on your archetypes table. Now, archetypes are these things. These are the archetypes. Or on your general creations table. Never forget that you are telling a story about the creation of the world. Rarely are the creation myths contents with things simply appearing out of nowhere. Use this as an opportunity to describe the actions of your god or one or more of your followers to bring the creation into existence. Not every creation needs the full treatment, but if you have time, it will make your world come alive. So I think what this is like, I want to create a city, and my followers have created a city built on the bones of an ancient and forgotten city. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, it could be something like that. But yeah, you know, like I think that's gonna be the key point to that one. Okay. Sorry, I'm just sending messages while people are texting me. The other thing is that everything's slightly twisted. While some elements from 5e, mostly running off my imagination and a real-like RPG, it was heavily inspired by AD&D. Oh, nice. I like a lot of the very creative styles of AD&D, like how it's more focused on like your internal idea of what a room looks like, as opposed to like a specific like here, this is the stat or this is the number you need to uncover something. It's like no, you look under the laundry, that's where you find the key. You know, like that kind of thing. I like that style of gameplay. Okay, so that is how we describe it. Choose a type and the broader category. The type is a starting point of what creation is. Is it a race? Is it a city? A natural disaster? Whatever it is, write it down. There is a list of types that offer starting places, but you can invent your own type if you wish. The type is usually only there to remind you about what kind of creation it is, but sometimes the type of creation matters too. Okay, so, yeah, okay, that's fair. Choose a tier, how influential it is in the world. All creations belong to a tier, which foreshadows the influence of a creation that they can have on the world. There are 3 main tiers available to everyone: ordinary, heroic, and mythic. For a creation to defeat something with a higher tier, then it is an impressive feat. What your group decides is mythic, and what is ordinary can make the difference between a dark and gritty world or a fantastic land of high fantasy. Cool. Add traits. Small notes about its most important features. Last, I must head off and get to bed. It's a long weekend in New Zealand, but I'm on call. I need to head into work tomorrow. Love your face. Love seeing you again. Yeah, it's so good seeing you as well, dude. Take it easy. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Where we at? Okay. A trait is a small phrase that invokes a feature of creation that is important, interesting, and unique. They come in two types, mortal and godly, or 1D and 3D traits. For short, a mortal trait is something that a mortal will find striking, such as a challenging profession, a memorable personality, or a profound culture. A godly trait is something that even the gods would take notice of, usually granting great power, such as mastery over magic or colossal size. Okay. Interesting. A creations tier gives a guide on how many traits of which type they should have, and the guidelines should be are made to be broken. What? A creations tier gives a guide on how many traits of which types it should have. These guidelines are made to be broken. So it says that there are creation tiers, and each tier has a number of traits, but don't worry about that. It's kind of weird. I think there's a certain element of like, I want this to be a game where you get to express yourself, but at the same time, there should be rigid rules. There should be like, hey, this is what tier it is. These are how many traits you have to play with. That's kind of the nature of it. I don't mind having the 2 DM discretion thing in my D&D game, but this kind of, you want to be kind of careful with putting that into the main rules. Traits primarily describe the creation, but also influence who will be the victor in these conflicts. Much like tiers, what your group decides is a mortal trait, and what is a godly trait will set the tone of your world. If magic is commonplace, and even beggars can now throw a cantrip or two, then knowing magic is a 1D trait. If it's an ancient and forbidden practice that mirrors the power of even gods, then it's a 3D trait, if there are no wrong answers. Optionally, bind it to an aspect, a fundamental element of nature. Aspects are a big part of the world that creations can be bound to. A creation can only be bound to one aspect, and it's a big part of it. A fire elemental will be bound to the fire aspect, and a witch who specializes in necromancy may be bound to the necromantic aspect. Your world starts with no aspects. There's too much to cover about aspects for this tiny section. Skip this part until you define an aspect or two. Okay, here is an example, and then that's kind of where we're going to leave for today, because this is about as far as I can stretch my jaw before stuff. Okay. It's Zoe's turn, and she's playing a divination god who is obsessed with the wind and stories that people tell. She feels like creating something, but isn't exactly sure what. She rolls on the inspiration table for divination and gates sacred relic. She still isn't sure, but it's a start. Okay, I'm going to make a scarred relic. Maybe something that was broken from the recent war, Josh pipes up. Josh pipes up. General Luna was pretty important, and she died. Maybe her spear. Zoe nods. Yes, that's perfect. Her first step is to describe the creation and how it was created. So I'm going to make the Pyrrhic spearhead, the head of the spear the general used in her last battle. It already was technically created, but it became a relic after her funeral as a symbol of hope and unity. Next is to decide what type and tier. It's an artifact, and I'm thinking it's ordinary maybe. Lewis suggests. Heroic tier says that it would be recited in songs for centuries. I think that works here, if you want. Zoe thinks, yeah, actually that makes sense, ticking off the box next to heroic. She checks the suggested amount of traits for heroic, 1 to 4, 1D traits, and 0 to 1 3D traits. She starts simple. It's just a spearhead, so I'll make that 1D trait. I'll also add the symbol of hope and unity, since I did say that. Josh asks, is that magic? You've got a slot for a 3D here. Zoe thinks and says, actually, it might be haunted by the general. Whoever holds it can talk to her, and she can guide them in battle with tactics and stuff. Yeah, that's cool. Is that a 1D or a 3D? Josh says talking to the dead isn't something that has been done yet, and the general was the best tactician we've had in the world. I think it fits the bill for my god thinking. It's notable. Zoe considers whether or not it should be 3D or not. Either is fine here, and is mostly about the setting of the tone of the world, but she likes the idea of it being a big deal, so she writes it down as a 3D trait. Oh, and you can totally summon the general to help you fight. The other players nod as she writes down as a 3D trait. Even though the recommendation is only 0 to 1 3D traits, it is a cool enough idea that she does it anyway. Lastly, she gets the chance to bind it to an aspect. Someone made the aspect of tradition, so she's decided to note that down in the aspect box. She also made a brief note about the origin of it being a relic that came from the general's funeral. So there you have straight away a good example of gameplay. You've got these people who are collaborating on the idea of this creation that one of the players is working on. But even though it is that player that makes the ultimate decision, the other members of the group are chiming in on evolving it and sort of finding and working that particular creation till it's something that everyone's happy with. The element of like I can break the rule if I want to, which is she only should have one 3D trait, which is the God tier trait, but instead has taken 2. That's fine, you know, like I get that, but I feel like that should be in the house rule purview rather than the rule purview. But yeah, there you go. All right. You know what? We've got how many more of these? Okay, no, we do have quite a few of these, so we're gonna take our leave here. Also, hey, Bloody, nice to see you. Welcome in, buddy. We are actually just winding up for the night. This wasn't supposed to be a long stream. We were only gone for almost an hour. So yes, appreciate seeing you. Hope you're doing well. And we are on to page 9 out of 90. So we're about a 10th of the way through. And as my jaw gets better, I'll definitely make these longer streams. But yeah, no, this is going to be really interesting, and I still have so much more to learn, and I want to definitely practice a lot of stuff with this. I'll also be able to show you guys some of the materials that they came out with as well. So including some of the tables, some of the handouts, even some examples of those creation sheets as well. I'll have all of these as we dive further into it. For the time being, however, thank you so much for joining us. The next story I want to tell before we sign off is PAX meeting Rob. So that was the next thing that happened while we were at PAX, and Rob, we knew that Rob was already had a pretty rough day for a number of reasons. If you want to follow his Twitter, it's all like his play-by-play was written there. It had a reasonably happy ending as well when he got back to New Zealand, which was good. But yeah. So Rob crawls in pretty late. I think it was like close to 10ish or there and abouts. And I decided straight up that I was gonna go grab Rob. I was gonna go to the airport and meet him there with Dredd and AJ. So all of us rocked up, and we don't know why, but the group that came with Rob and his friends was delayed by a couple of times. It was a good bonus stream. Was not expecting to be in the background while it was working. Guess it was thanks to the latest VOD. Oh, thanks, dude. Latest VOD I think is the Friday Asian inspired RPG that we did. But Schoolia, if you want to, hey, tomorrow morning we're going to be doing Spelljammer. So if you're not caught up on the last episode of that, it might be worth a watch for that one. So Spelljammer, Flight of the Northwest is coming up tomorrow morning. All right, so yeah, let's go back to the story. So there we were at the airport, waiting for I want to say 40 minutes, and we actually did a live stream. We actually live streamed the whole incident. We made sure that we were kind of there, ready to kind of bounce on on Rob when he arrived. He'd sent us photos of him disembarking, and we knew he was wearing a top hat, so we started skulking around the airport, just trying to hide and ambush him. It was really funny too because we were live streaming, and then Rob and his friends were watching the live stream while we were there. So that was a whole bunch of fun. I think for me it was a mix of things. The longer we ended up there and the longer we were on live stream, the weirder I felt because we were there with so many people who were looking at us like we were bloody idiots. Because there's me and Dredd and AJ running around sneaking behind pillars and trying to make up little stories and things like that. But but when eventually the time came, I think we saw Rob coming out, but we didn't see where he went because we immediately hid. And when we tried to catch where he was, we lost sight of him, and we ended up seeing Tals. Tals was there with a few other people, and they came up to us first, and we started chatting with them, and then we saw Rob off in the distance, and he had this huge grin on his face, this big, massive smile just wide across his face as he walks up to us. And just like comes in like right between me and Dredd and just wraps his arms around us. We kind of like, the first thing we did was we hugged each other, and it was exactly that. It didn't feel like going to a new place. It felt like, people coming home. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it felt like. It even though none of us came from Melbourne, right? None of us are from Melbourne. That was the vibe. That was what it felt like. And it was so nice. It was so pleasant, because I guess the thing is you don't really realize how much of a connection the online space provides compared to like being in person. I think we tell ourselves that it's okay to have like online connections and to meet people and to like interact and have these entire social avenues in an online space, but really deep down, there is no replication of it. There is no substitute for having a real, genuine connection with someone in person. And I think for me, in that moment, I was like, I'm so happy that I know these people. I'm so grateful that, in my lifetime, I was able to find a way to actually be in the same physical space as these people, because there could be a story where I wasn't. There could have been a story where we'd never actually managed to get to see each other, and that's a very strong possibility. There are many fans and many friends who I know online who I may never get an opportunity to meet in person. I think I've already been so fortunate. Like I've met Guy from How to Be a Great GM, who is next to Rob and Dredd, actually probably one of my oldest and closest friends in this industry. When we went to Gen Con, it was exactly the same sort of thing. It felt like seeing family. It felt like this whole thing, and it made me happy, but it also made me sad, because it makes me feel like there's this huge part of my life that is just not here. There's a part of myself that is always with them. And I don't, it's so self-imposed, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they feel that way, or whatever, but like, that's how I feel. I always feel like a part of me is never here while everyone is scattered to the winds, If I had my way, I would definitely be having my own studio somewhere where everyone could like live and stay and work and create content and just follow their passions. That would be my dream. But in reality, the odds of that happening so minuscule. But yeah, it made me in that moment with Rob and Dredd feel as though it's like this is what I've been missing out on. This is what I need in my life. I need my brothers to be here with me and to be able to do this thing that we're doing all the time. That was the feeling when we were all finally together, like all three of us. That is, of course, not to say that it was just the three of us. Of course, AJ was there the whole way as well, and AJ and I feel we are close friends because we live in the same city. We've communicated a bunch of times, both online and in person, and I'm really grateful for our friendship because she definitely offers support as a friend in the industry here as well to me and all the stuff I do, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's very different when you know that person or these people aren't necessarily going to be able to be there when you go home, And so there was lots of emotions, lots of high emotions. And I think at that point was when I decided that I'm not going to let these emotions overwhelm me. I'm not going to let the emotions like kind of push to that forefront and make me like become like a sad sack the whole time. That came from something else. But you know, I took that moment to go, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that every single second that we enjoyed our company, we enjoyed Melbourne, we enjoyed PAX, we enjoyed everything that we did, and I was going to do everything I could to facilitate that. Which like I said, I learned a lot about PAX. I learned a lot about how awkward I can be, and one of the awkward things is, and this goes to people who are like me, who are like people pleasers, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be that person who takes it upon yourself to be responsible for everyone's fun. You know, in fact, it's quite damaging, because what you end up doing is, whether or not you realize it, is you end up missing out on a lot of the stuff as well. And while I don't think I missed out, I definitely could have been a lot more chill. I could have definitely been a lot more focused on enjoying the moment, as opposed to ensuring that everyone else was enjoying the moment. You know, that was my 2 cents on that particular field. But there's more stories about PAX and more things that happened when we come back to doing another one of these like readings and chats. I will tell you about the first endeavor that we did, which was of course going to the meet and greet that Robert had arranged, which was a whole bunch of fun. Hello, there we go. Okay, cool. And also a little bit of a mini spoiler alert. The meet and greet was probably one of my favorite things that we did there. It was probably one of my favorite moments. So yeah. Should I ever stop being a workaholic? I'll start living, travel the world, visit PAX Oz, give me an awkward hello. Please do. Please give me the awkward hello, and I will definitely give a similar awkward, like kind of one of those quasi high, you know, it's like, do we high five? Do we handshake? Do we fist bump? I don't know. Like, oh no, don't. I'm not trying to punch you in the face. I'm really sorry. Why is the child crying? You know, yeah. So yep. Just again, forgive me for any awkwardness that I have, but know that deep down, I would love to meet you guys and hang out and stuff. But yeah, no, and the meet and greet was also great. But again, we'll talk about that another time, because that's also where I met Miss B for the first time, which was amazing. And that was the first beginning of my very awkward conversations, because, you know, naturally turning around and telling someone like, hey, I really like your tattoo, because it's a tattoo of Dread's logo. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the placement of Miss B's Dread tattoo, the mimic heart, made it very awkward to try and look at the mimic heart. And I'm really happy that you accepted my awkwardness, Miss B. I really, really do, because I don't know how people work. So awesome. Thank you very much, everyone. We hope that you enjoyed this little hangout, this little chill session. Like I said, just nice, cozy, relaxing kind of period. We will be back tomorrow morning, where I will be doing Spelljammer. Yes, we're going to be doing Spelljammer, Flight of the Northwest, and that's it. That's it, really. Anything else? No. Actually, I don't even think I'm... Oh, yes, no, I'll be on Dice Legends on Sunday. That's the other thing I was thinking of. Yeah, Dice Legends will be having me as a special guest on Sunday, so tune in for that as we go and play with our friends from New Zealand. So yeah, we'll go check that out. Who are we gonna go and raid? We shall raid Split the Party. Yeah, Split the Party. Who I also got to meet there at PAX. Got to meet our dear friend Maddie Brown. And we got to meet George and Lydia and a whole bunch of really, really cool, fun people from this channel. So, guys, go hang out with these dudes. Go check them out. Make sure to send all the loves. Throw in all the mimic hearts. Throw in all of the raid emotes. And, guys, till we meet again, as always, if I want to troll Josh the Pirate, who'll be playing on my channel in an hour. Oh, yeah, no, I'll see if I can swing by. All right. Take it easy, everyone. Be safe, be wonderful. And as always, from me to you, till we meet again, game hard or die trying. Bye-bye.